The following show and its content are the responsibility of the show's producers and participants.
Information related in this program is not meant to substitute medical recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
All right, welcome to Couch Live. Now we're on WPSN99.com. Hello, everybody. God, where were we? We were in some sort of weird space there for a second. And I am the street-certified dope, Dr. Louis Delgado. Hello, everybody, with you. Yeah, here's what we do. I'm sorry about my voice. First of all, again, I am the street-certified dope, Dr. Louis Delgado. I apologize that I have no voice today. I'm trying, but it's gone. But I will do my best to be able to speak to you and all you people out here as best I can. But let me introduce who we have in here today. And Trinity, I'm going to let you do the introduction since I'm going to try to save my voice as much as possible for all those excellent points that I'm fixing to make.
You fixing?
I'm fixing to learn you, kid.
You got that deep voice like that there, man. Everything all right with you today?
Go ahead, Trinity. That's my partner, Trinity, the Dharma Guy. Go ahead. Take it away, Trinity.
So how y'all doing today? We're going to go ahead and handle this today. we got Mr. Pete Crotty here, who's running for, was it District 3 Commissioner?
Yes,
is that what it is?
Orange County.
And I just found out today I'm actually in your district.
Wonderful.
So I don't know. Now I got to start taking things more seriously.
Well,
now we're going to have to talk about the issues, man.
Well, we will.
That's right.
All of Central Florida. That state.
There you go. And sitting to his left, my right, is Miss Tricia.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome. And then, and of course, to my left is Mr. Robbie.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Grasshopper
He's got
here.
scrubs on today.
Yeah, he's got scrubs.
Straight from the hospital.
I can't get him in the picture, but you know, if you guys,
That's okay.
oh, we got him on the Facebook Live picture.
Right
You're on
on.
the Facebook Live.
Awesome.
You just won't be on the YouTube
I've never seen
segment.
him. He
That's
looks
okay.
so different in scrubs.
And he's acting very different.
He is. He's
There's
very.
something very odd about him
Maybe
today.
like more professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what it is? He doesn't have his computer today.
I don't.
It's like an extension of himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah, he's acting very awkward today.
And then, of course, behind me,
And we got a guest.
was it Mr. Brian, I think?
Yeah, Brian Henley.
Brian Henley. I love how, in fact, every time he says his name, it's always Brian Henley.
But first and last name.
Yeah, I like that.
And you got to let him know that he is on camera.
You are on camera, buddy. So if you pick your nose, we're all going to see it.
Oh, no. Oh, my.
Right on.
There we go.
All right, Trini, tell everybody what we're talking about today.
Well, I believe based upon our poll, which I'm sure we'll discuss here in a minute, we're talking about the is marijuana essentially the answer to the opiate crisis that we're having? There seems to be an awful lot of debate going on about that. And I, the thing I think we're going to find out by the end of this is I don't think everybody's as far apart as we all think we are.
No.
I think everybody's kind of more on the same page for the most part. Right. But because it's such a controversial subject, I think a lot of times people get ready for a fight almost. I think they get ready to defend or ready to attack.
100%.
But sometimes they forget that, we're kind of all on the same page when you start to actually listen. So that's what I've gathered from all this so far.
Right. It's one big love fest.
It is. Well, that's
By the way, you can't be pro-pot and then be a fighter.
No.
Then you lose your credibility. You lose your pot card.
Sure.
The only way to keep your pot card is you got to love.
Well,
you got to love at all times.
Right.
Or else they're going to come in and revoke it from you. I swear to God.
Man.
There's some sort of hippie out there that's going to say, you know what, you lost it because you're just too aggressive.
Hey, man.
It's got to always be a safe space. It's got to be a safe space.
I picture Chong at the moment. Hey, man.
Yeah. Because, I got to tell you, even though I'm retired from normal, I'm retired from my love and use of pot, I still have a love for the image of what it's supposed to really be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I still don't want that image to be tarnished. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to still dress like I did in 7th and 8th grade. You know?
Well, see, I don't have a problem with it, but am I the only one in the room that's never done pot?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait,
Interesting.
ask your mother.
No, she hasn't.
Cheech and Chong, the two funny guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, well,
I think I'm the only one on air then.
don't
here
worry.
currently.
I did enough for you.
I'm sure.
That's good.
But
So here's the issue, kids. The reason we're talking about this today is because, first of all, Sanjay Gupta, I'm going to mention your name.
gosh.
I'm going to mention your name a couple times today
that was such a horrible thing.
because I think you messed up, kid. I think you had an opportunity, and you have an opportunity. You're at CNN, bro. You're at a place where a lot of people are watching you. You have an obligation to be completely fair about this topic. And here's what I don't like about this topic. What I don't like about this topic, and we'll just jump right into it,
Let's do it.
is the fact that in order to gain credibility, just like with the disease of addiction, in order to gain credibility in the treatment industry, we got to be honest about our treatment industry. And we got to be honest as what's helping, what's not helping, what's abusive, what's not abusive. You have to police your own space.
Sure.
And if you're not honest and police your own space, then you lose that credibility, right? So there's people out there that are in the rooms. The rooms have no opinions on outside issues. And if you don't know what the rooms are, kids, the rooms are the 12-step rooms. But the rooms have no opinions on outside issues, but people do. Right. And there's a lot of people out there that act like they're the ones in control of the room's message, and they're the ones that are the rooms, and somehow they're bigger than the rooms, and they're more powerful than the rooms, and they give all their opinions. And people are out there dying because you told them they're not in recovery, because whatever they chose to do to get off of their substance, you have some sort of critique about it. And that's not for you to ever determine. And so, as much as I'm a fighter for life, and I'm a fighter for finding solutions to this disease, I think the right side on this, and what I mean by right, I mean like right, left, and I'm not talking politics. I'm just using it because instead of saying up, down.
Sure.
So there's a right side of this. It's like complete abstinence is the only way to go, and if you use any medication, you're not in recovery, and that is including those that you're saying if you're on antidepressants, you're cheating.
Right.
If you're on Suboxone, buprenorphine, Vivitrol, methadone, any kind of medication,
Vivitrol.
Adderall. Yeah, Vivitrol. Even though Vivitrol is not addictive,
Right.
and Vivitrol, has no opiate in it, there's still people that, because they're ignorant and they don't understand it, they choose to accuse others of not being in recovery because they don't get it, because they didn't get clean that way.
Right.
Like everybody's supposed to get clean like Johnny Cash did. You get clean like Johnny Cash did. Hell no, I ain't doing that. Today, if I was getting clean today, I wouldn't do it the same way I did it. I would use some other assistance. Now, that being said, that's right side. Left side is everything that's anti-government, anti-establishment is the next greatest, biggest thing.
Kratom.
Kratom, ecstasy, pot. There's this big movement that like everything illegal has all the answers because of big bad government and big bad people and the big bad wolf.
The government is lying to us about everything.
Daddy doesn't want me to do anything, and so Daddy's the evil man, and I have all the answers. Well, let me tell you something. That, my friend, can also kill people.
Yes.
Just like the right decision and the right side can kill people by being ignorant, your side can kill people by being ignorant.
Yes.
Because you're making claims of solutions that do not have scientific proof. They have anecdotal proof. You know a friend of a friend of a friend, or a person of a person of a person, or it worked for you. Well, let me tell you something. If I would tell you what worked for me, I would never teach what worked for me. What worked for me didn't work for other people. There's a lot of people dead that try to do what I do. I relocated. What do they say about relocation in the program, Robbie?
About relocation?
Yeah. Geographical changes.
Oh, yeah. Change your people, places, and things.
Well, yeah, but what do they say? The geographical ways
It's
don't
not
work,
a-
right, Pete?
yeah.
What do they say?
Yeah, I agree.
What do they say? Well, I agree.
All right, politician.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No, but what do they say about, moving from state to state? They say is not
Doesn't
the
work.
answer.
Yeah.
Right.
You cannot run your
Because
problem.
the problem is you.
Yeah.
So they say you can't run away from the problem.
You go wherever you are. That's a good one.
Yeah, you go wherever you are.
Geographical cure.
But for me, it worked. But you don't see me getting on a pulpit and say, hey, everybody,
Move.
go 3,000 miles. That's going to work for you. Because that's anecdotal information. And it's very important to understand the difference between science, math, and your opinion. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. But please at least be honest enough to say, in my opinion,
Right.
or in my belief. Because as soon as you say that, nobody should argue with you. They might still argue with you because
Oh, have you seen today's day and world? They'll argue.
Yep.
yeah,
But they don't have a basis to argue
But you
at that
shouldn't
point.
argue because you're allowed to have your opinion.
Yep.
You know, the other thing is this: that if all those things worked, no one would have ever been on crack. Because if there's any drug out there that's not the first drug, it's typically crack. Yeah. Crack is just one of those drugs that's never the first drug.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I think I only met one person ever that was the first drug they ever take.
Wow.
And I was surprised to meet that person, to be honest with you.
I think heroin's the same though. You never like meet anybody who just goes through life in one day.
Right. Heroin's another one of those drugs. They're like graduate level drugs.
Yeah.
Right? They're like doctoral level drugs. Crack. Like once you go there, you're kind of like an expert in drugs.
Well, they're the ones that know. Everybody starts out saying, "I would never," and then end up.
Yeah, any drug where people make this face when you say, "Have you ever tried it?" They go, "That's not an entry level."
No.
And remember, and you, are you listening? I'm saying entry level. I'm not saying gateway. I'm saying entry level, because entry level, don't you friggin' even try to argue that. I don't agree with gateway. I think everybody has a different gateway.
Yes.
I think gateway is actually very subjective.
Yes.
Because if you ask me what a true gateway drug is, we've had that show, right?
Yes,
Trinity?
we have.
It's sugar and caffeine.
Yes, sir.
Sugar and caffeine are gateway drugs. If you don't believe me, look at your kid after you give them a cookie. They'll lie for that cookie. They'll steal for that cookie. They change completely at that cookie. Go to one of those pizza places where the kids are running around like crazy and you get like tickets when you play games. You turn around and that little crackhead kid will steal your tickets. I'm telling you.
You know,
an 8-year-old on sugar is a thief.
Yeah.
right. When I hear you discussing
You
this,
got to talk louder, Pete, on that mic.
when I hear you
There you go.
discussing this,
Right.
it makes me think about, the rooms and opinions and all that.
Right.
And how some people say, like, marijuana is a gateway drug.
Right.
And, I mean, you've discussed this. The gateway drug is whatever leads you down the road to addiction. For me,
Right.
it was alcohol.
Right.
If I'd have followed my dad's advice, he told me that I had uncles that were big in AA
Right.
back
Right.
in New York, generations back, and I need to be careful because I'm pre-deceived.
Right.
But what you're saying is absolutely true. I mean, you see, like the cookie thing. I mean, that's a great example.
Right.
And something that we discussed last time I met you with children.
Right.
See, everybody says, let's try to get to the children to fight their drug addiction.
Right.
But I heard something from you and something I've chimed in on, which is they need to teach kids in school self-esteem, coping skills.
That's right.
And so forth.
That's right.
Because we're missing the boat completely on the whole message.
Not just that. We need to teach them loss, fear. We're not teaching them loss anymore. Everybody's a winner.
Yeah.
We're so worried about hurting little
your
kids'
orange slice.
feelings.
And not
that-
to steal cookies.
Remember, the right is bad. I'm not saying go beat your kids. That was horrible. The parents they go, well, I think we should go back to beating the hell out of our kids.
Yeah.
You suck too.
Yeah, because nobody in prison's ever got abused,
But
right?
those of you that are asking your little baby for permission to change their diaper, you suck too.
Yes.
That's way too left and way too right. The middle, there's a middle there. Teach me loss. Teach me how to deal with fear.
Well, isn't that the
Right.
to me that's the gateway.
Yeah, teach
The
me how to
gateway
deal
isn't
with
the
dying.
substance. The gateway is the need for the substance in the first place.
Right.
There's the
the
inability to
coping.
handle things and cope with stuff.
Right.
That's the true gateway.
The gateway is whatever relieved my pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever relieved my pain is my gateway.
Yep.
And so if that was pot for me, that was pot for me. And so another person should not have the ability to say, that's not a gateway drug, just because they believe that it's okay for them. I think whatever that person's gateway is their gateway. Now, for me, it wasn't. That was my gateway into illegal drug dealing and illegal drug use. But before that, I was stealing candy. I was stealing bikes. I was selling candy. I was already flipping candy. So I was already dealing drugs. It was sugar. I was dealing candy in my school before I dealt drugs in my school.
And then when I did the liquid drug, I loved the way it made me feel.
Yeah, and at 9 years old, I started drinking. So
my God.
if so 9 years old, so alcohol was my first entry into substances. You know what I mean? And Tricia, you wanted to say something.
I just think we have to be very careful when we're talking about pot now, because in the state of Florida we have medical marijuana patients. So we're trying to really educate about cannabis.
Yeah,
because we don't want to, there is this stigmata attached to the plant, and I understand it.
Right.
My mom is living proof of what I deal with all the time in the house. And it's a battle. But we have to find this middle ground where maybe we can, it's hard to change what we've been predispositioned to learn. We've learned this. It's bad for you.
Right.
It is an entry drug, or it's a gateway drug. I'm sorry.
Right. No, entry level.
Like my son was on 15 medications for seizures, and now he's only on 5.
Yeah.
So for him, it was his exit medication.
Right. I definitely want to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. I just want to do the introduction in regards to the arguments that stop us from getting to the truth. And that's what we need to get to. What we need to get to is, why are we even talking about it for real? Right. But before we talk about why we're talking about it, as far as medicinally or for this opioid crisis, we need to truly admit why we're talking about it for real.
Right.
Right? I had a professional text me, because I know a lot of professionals that smoke marijuana. I do know some Michael Jordans of marijuana. They're able to smoke marijuana recreationally, or however.
Professionally.
Professionally. They're able to smoke professionally.
Yeah.
And, they're one-hit jakes, you know what I mean? They're one-toke jokes. They just boom, and then that's it, or, every once in a while throughout the day, whatever. But they do it in a way that nobody knows. They don't look like the drug. They don't act like the drug. They don't walk around like the drug. They don't preach the world about the drug. They don't do anything that's going to, make the movement look bad.
Right.
And those individuals never like the way the movement looks. They always have issue. They always take issue with the way certain people prance at go to Washington, or the ones that get all the attention on the news, or the like you said, the stigma. Those other ones, if they only knew, they were creating the stigma. Let me tell you something. If you look like a 6th grader, and I hate to say it like that, but it's true. If you look like a middle schooler, and you're in your 30s or 40s, and you're like all about everything's marijuana, and it's a cure-all for even a splinter.
Yeah.
You actually are helping create the stigma.
Yeah.
You are the problem.
Definitely.
I agree with that.
You are the problem. You are the one that is hurting this movement. I've believed in this movement my entire career, in my entire life, and I've always gotten some sort of crap until they heard me out from people in my industry, for me saying, legalize it. Who cares? I could care less. Go ahead, Pete.
I've received some attention from the medical marijuana people
Right.
lately, and I've reached out to some of them just to set the record straight via phone call, and I've talked to professionals that don't like the representation they're getting by these folks that are chiming in on the issue.
Right.
They say with the tie-dye T-shirts and the this and that, where they're professionals and they smoke pot recreationally. And that's on them. I'm a recovering person.
Right.
Matter of fact, I
There you
received
go.
my 17-year medallion
Right on.
17 years.
recently, and I'm very proud of it.
Right on.
In the rooms.
Right.
And this lady didn't appreciate the attention that it's getting because of what you just said. And I've talked to some other folks, and believe me, there's no way that I'm for medical marijuana. I've seen miracles. I have a friend who's an advocate of freedoms, and he's a Vietnam vet, Purple Heart recipient, and he just had a loved one die from cancer. I'm all about it.
Right.
And then Trish and her child. I've been involved. It's too bad that people were more educated back days ago, in the 70s or 60s.
Look, I've joked around in Trinity. You've heard me say this. I met Gary Hart one time in my life.
Yes.
Gary Hart was up for president. I don't know if you remember him, Robbie. You're way too young. But Gary Hart was up for president, and I got to meet him. And I had one question. Here I am, a young teenage pothead. And that's we can hear you, right? You got a microphone. We can hear you.
Can you?
Yeah. Gary Hart was running for president. And so I had one opportunity to ask him a question. And my little pothead self, because all I really look, man, was it a fight against plastics? Yes. Was hemp awesome? Yes. All that stuff. But I used all that. The Emperor Wears No Clothes, Jack Herrera, the fact that I was part of Normal. I used all that, but I just wanted to get high. I got to be honest. I just really wanted to get high. But I was willing to use the glaucoma kid as a look at him. I was willing to use all these other people to act like I really cared about them, when in reality, I didn't care about them. I just wanted to get high. Mm-hmm. I'm just being honest right now. Just being honest. That's where we made the mistake, I think. Because they saw right through it. You know, Gary Hart got, you know, he never made it. Right. But Gary Hart did say, yeah, I want to legalize marijuana. And I was like, I'm going to vote for this guy. And then he got caught in a sex scandal, and that ruined everything. But anyway.
And now they'll elect you.
Yeah. The point is that I think this disrespects the Tricias of the world, the people of the world that have a loved one, that this is a, you know, I'm not going to say it's a life-saving, even though it kind of, you know, miracles can feel like life-saving.
Psychologically, yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a life-turning situation. I think there's definitely a lot of hope involved if you can relieve any kind of negative symptoms that you're feeling, and all of a sudden here's this answer that regardless of its side effects and regardless of its negatives, and that's why we'll get back to Sanjay Gupta in a little bit. Yeah. Yes, it has side effects. Yes, it has its negatives. Yes, it has its problems. But compare it to the others. So for the first time ever, we're doing true comparison. Yeah. See, I did comparison to alcohol when I was a kid because that was an easy argument. Mm-hmm. You get drunk, urinate on yourself. I get high, I listen to Beatles. It was an easy argument. Alcohol always looked worse compared to pot.
Still does.
Yeah, still does. So it's an easy argument if you compare marijuana to opiates. I mean, it's like a slam dunk, right?
I think before you start saying like pot as a blanket term, I think like the medical community does recognize the medical benefits to CBD, which is a metabolite.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that as well, though.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Don't worry.
That's part of the debate, right
there.
Don't
worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. What I'm saying is, but I just wanted to set the stage.
It's this topic, man. I'm telling you.
It's a topic.
People get emotional about this, man.
I just wanted to set the stage because most people, and I would venture to say this, most people that back this up are just like I was when I was younger. And what I was going to say about that professional that texted me, it was a real long rant about how he's cool with it, and he says it cures everything, as a joke. Yeah. He did it as a joking way. But he goes, but in reality, I really just want to smoke pot, Louis. That is really true. And I get that. And I like that honesty is what I'm saying. But he's got to be in the closet because if not, the stigma attached to him because of the others. So I don't care how you dress or how you look or all that. I'm just saying that respect the cause enough to know that when you promote it the way you promote it and you don't self-analyze your situation and you don't take respect, then you are disrespecting the people like my father, who I think would benefit greatly from medical marijuana. I think, me and my father have had many discussions about medical marijuana and how I can't wait for it to be something he can use, because he suffers some certain things that I think, and I'm not going to out his stuff, I'm just saying he suffers certain things that compared to the medications they give him and compared to some of the things, he's been on those medications for 20, 30, 40, longer actually, my whole entire life, so 50 years, So why not give it a shot? Just in case. And he's pretty excited about it. My dad's very right-wing, very Republican, very conservative, Latino male, hard-headed, 25-year veteran from the U.S. Army, Command Sergeant Major. So for him to finally have read enough research to say, Louis, I'm willing to give it a try. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, Dad, absolutely.
Right on.
So now let's get into that. Because now that all of you that are watching this or listening to this because you're just all pro-pot because you want to get high. Let's just understand that's all you really want to do, and that's cool. That's cool. I don't care if you just want to get high. That's your life. I don't judge you for it. If I can get high and it didn't do what it did to me, I'd still do it too. It just doesn't work like that. Right. In addiction and dependence, it just usually doesn't work that way. I just want you to be honest. I just want you to be honest. Trust me, if I wouldn't have learned what I learned about marijuana and addiction and dependence, and the way it interacts with the brain for real, as far as for addicts. I'm not saying for everybody else. Yeah. For an addict, I'd have went back to it. But I came into the program, 28 years ago, and the marijuana maintenance program was high and active then, like it still is active now. Marijuana maintenance in the rooms.
Tried it.
Yeah, has always been around. Right. There's always been addicts trying to get off drugs, trying to get off alcohol, trying to get off opiates, trying to get off cocaine, trying to get off whatever drug they were on, using a marijuana maintenance program. This is not new. This is not new because of medical marijuana. This is not new because of CBD. Marijuana maintenance has always been around. So, since that has been a huge failure in our life, don't be some new jack and come out and act like it's not. Because I know way too many dead people I've been in this industry for over 28 years and it's sober over 29 years. Don't come with this New Jack mentality that it's safe for addicts until you better come with some science and numbers, man. Because I got dead people. And you're not messing with my people that are dying right now, giving false hope. But now let's get to that research that you were talking about there, kid.
Yeah. So to break it down, CBD or cannabinoidal is the non-psychoactive component, which means when you take it, you don't get high, and usually it's available in things like caps or liquids or tinctures or whatever that you put on your skin.
Right.
And then THC is the part that does get you high, and it's the natural, produced by the plant, whatever.
Right.
And what it does is you have CB1 and CB2 receptors, and THC binds to the CB1 receptors. And it does turn on those dopaminergic neurons, and that's why it is so dangerous for someone in recovery, because they have a limbic system that is dependent on this dopamine. So once you give them a little bit, they're gonna want a lot.
Right.
And that's why it leads them to go back to their drug of choice.
We also have an endocannabinoid system in our body, so we know at some point that we all had this in our system. What that means, we don't know, because there's not enough research. That's the problem.
Well, that's a good thing, because on those neurons and on those receptors, we have that research, and that's the good thing.
We do have that.
So I like what you're saying, because the limbic system is something ignored by everyone, and here's why I'm saying it's ignored. When I was young, I used to say, "Well, this is not addicting. That's not addicting." Whatever I was using, I always thought was not addicting. Pete, you remember when cocaine was not addicting?
Oh, never.
No. I mean, do you remember one they used to say it was not addicting?
No, it's not addicting.
Yeah. I mean, in the early 80s, if you can believe it or not, there was a whole push that cocaine is not addictive. In the 70s, there was a push. Marijuana was not addictive. I mean, cocaine was not addictive. Yeah. That's why they put out billboards that say the big white lie. That's where the white lie campaign came from. Huh. Because those of us out there using cocaine would have swore up and down that it was not addictive.
I can stop whatever I want.
Can stop whatever I want.
They sold tons of it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, by the way. But the problem is that addiction doesn't just involve a substance. Gambling can be addictive, and that's a behavior. Sex can be addictive. So talk a little bit about the limbic system, because without understanding how the limbic system interacts to behaviors in all substances, we're going to keep arguing based on comparison, based on saying, well, nobody dies from it, or nobody sits in a closet just doing it all day long. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. But addiction doesn't always work that way. We have to understand the limbic system so we can get honest about it, so they can take us serious when we say legalize the damn thing. So they can take us serious when we say it's great to study. We need to study and research this product. But they're not going to let us study and research it if we keep on ignoring facts. Right. So talk about the limbic system, please.
So what it is basically a string of highly dopaminergic neurons that have a lot of D2 receptors, and it starts in the ventral tegmental area, it goes out to the nucleus accumbens, and what it is, it's a part. It's a part of our brain.
Are you calling me a name right now? Are you cussing?
No, it's a part of our brain that evolved a long time ago. And
it's the lizard brain, what we call the lizard brain.
Yeah, the lizard brain. And what it does is back when we were cavemen and we were running from a predator or getting food, this part of our brain gave you a reward in the form of dopamine, and it's basically telling you that yes, this is a good behavior, and you need to keep on doing this. And we have grown so much and learned so much that we actually have developed. There are natural drugs, and we've developed drugs that target the same pathway. So they're still telling your brain the same thing it was telling you back when we were cavemen, but you don't get the signal to stop,
right?
Because it feels like it is a reward,
right? And also here, and the other thing is, on top of that, is that everybody has a different, personal story as a child, and so you don't know your friend. You really don't know your friend's true issues. None of my friends knew that I was sexually abused as a little kid. I didn't know I was sexually abused as a little kid. That memory didn't come out until my mid-20s, my mid to late 20s. You don't know who's being physically abused. You don't know who has some sort of trauma. You don't know how your friend is dealing with the loss of his mother, the loss of his father, the divorce of their parents. So you can't just blanket think that because you like something and you like doing it with that person, that right there is not allowing that person to develop other skill sets and other abilities to deal with what they need to deal with to live in this world. Real pain. If you don't teach me how to deal with emotional pain, if I just mask it my entire life or hide from it my entire life or What it did for me was it made me not care. It was the not care drug for me. It helped me say F it to everything. You're being beat, F it. You're failing, F it. You're not as smart as your brother, F it. You're not as good looking as your brother, F it. It helped me just say F everything. It helped me put off what I needed to do today. I'll put it off till tomorrow. I'll get it done.
Are you talking about marijuana? Are we talking about marijuana?
Yeah. For me, what I'm saying is, this is the thing that's separate. Yeah. Each person's different. But what I'm saying is, you can't take the history of it and say it doesn't tack into that limbic system that way. And so when we know we have a product that has multiple pieces to it, hemp, phenomenal.
Yeah.
You can't even argue that. Like, who's arguing hemp? You know who's arguing hemp? The plastics company, the cotton industry.
Yeah.
That's true.
The people losing money.
CBD. You can't even argue that. You know who's arguing that? The pharmaceutical industries.
That's right.
The one that is getting the argument, and you can argue, and it's because it just comes with we all have subjective information, we all have anecdotal information, is the THC component. So let's talk about the medicinal side now then, besides just the CBD and the THC. The medicinal thing, like, how did you even get to the point, Tricia, to even take the risk? Because you knew there was going to be comments. You knew there was going to be a risk. You knew there was going to be, sometimes people are just cruel.
Oh, it was scary.
Yeah, so just talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
That's why it's so important, because we don't want people going back into those stages where they're self-experimenting.
Right.
It was 2012. I had cancer on my leg, melanoma, diagnosed. I was self-treating with black salve, big mistake. And my leg had a hole all the way to the bone. Just some friends that I knew had said, why don't you just try this? And I did. And during that time, Noah was very thin. His seizures were just, I can't think of a day we had not gone to the hospital that year. I think it was just one of those years. It was really bad. So just the fact that we were kind of seeing him decline in health, and his weight was down to like 42 pounds at 12.
Right.
I just said, I'm just going to see what happens. He was having limbic seizures. Those are those ones that they're like emotional. They're laughing and they're not funny, but then it will go into a grand mal. So we started, I just tried it, and I got some people from Colorado to kind of help me through, and we would go to Colorado, come back, and his seizures were stopping. Were they cured? No. Are they the answer for every person? No. Why do we use THC? Because he's missing 50% of his brain, and CBD wasn't cutting it for him. So whatever scientific reason it works for him,
right,
we don't know, because it's still scheduled as the most dangerous drug in the world, Right.
And there actually is a lot of research in like the CBD and THC efficacy, and I think like the ratio, like THC has a like 20-to-1 or something like that. That THC actually is more effective when you do have CBD present. So.
Yes, we do a 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to, because if you have just THC, this is just my son. But when he has just you can't go messing with. You really need to go to a doctor. This is not a joke. You don't play with this stuff in your house, because there were things that I was given to give him, and they would way freak him out, because you've got a sativa and you've got an indica. We don't know the difference in those things. It's dangerous at home. We need doctors.
Yeah,
to be paying attention.
And we need doctors that, and here's the issue: we need doctors that understand it, want to research it themselves, and truly want to help, not just want to make money, because the green wave is coming. The green wave is here.
Yeah, it is. It's coming too.
You're seeing more people that are.
My concern. It happened to us in the pill mill industry. Look what happened to pain management.
I know.
Here's an industry that was allowing people to walk, allowing people to move, allowing people to return to being productive citizens. And bad physicians made a bad move and started just handing out this stuff to people that really didn't need it. People that just wanted it for the high effects, people that just wanted it for the dope effects. And that ruined that industry to the point where there's people now that feel like drug addicts every time they have to go get their medication. Yeah. They're treated like drug addicts. But they're suffering serious pain.
See, that's a stigma that's not okay, and it's not okay for, like, you talk about functional people that smoke responsibly,
Right.
like
Right.
myself.
Right.
I can write a book and I can put on
Right.
a convention,
Right.
but I'm still a responsible person in
Correct.
life, and I'm not running around acting silly. You know what I mean?
Right.
I understand this is medicine, and I treat it that way.
Right.
And that's where
It's a
I
big
think
difference.
we're really messing up in
I
Florida.
think so too. I think so too, and I think the only way to get there is we have to be able to research it. And unfortunately, because the way it's scheduled, what is Schedule 1, right, Robbie?
Yep.
As a Schedule 1 drug, it's just so difficult to get the research done, and that's where you come into play, Pete.
Right.
That's where you, as a commissioner, when you come in, here's what I'm looking for in politicians. Stop doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Correct.
Isn't that a Rooms thing?
Yes.
Isn't that exactly what government continues to do?
Right. And then, the issue you mentioned about the pill mills,
Yeah.
and the doctors ruined it,
Right.
and they continue to.
Yeah.
And it was a no-brainer. Once they shut down the pill mills, the opioid heroin went through the roof.
Yep.
Right.
And my job
Yeah.
as a county commissioner is, as far as marijuana, which is the law of the land, and
Right.
and I'm in agreement with medical marijuana.
Right.
Would be zoning on where they're going to put these
Right.
things. But as far as like drug testing kids, that's an issue for Tallahassee or the Senate, and that is not. I'm not in agreement with that.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that if you're going to say something is medicinal, well, then wouldn't it apply to the same zoning laws as like a CVS pharmacy? I mean, here's my issue with zoning, and this is real issue with zoning. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
we talked about this on
I'm
the
talking real
task
deal here.
force.
If you put me only where the bars and the strip clubs and the pawn shops are, then if we treat it like a duck, it's going to be a duck.
Yep.
But if you force them instead and allow them to be in the winter parks, and you allow them to be in the nice areas, then the storefronts are going to look nice areas and be nice areas. We have laws already based on, or rules and regulations based on how to look appropriate and be appropriate. But if we treat it seedy, then it's going to look seedy and be seedy, and it's the industry cannot stand for that. I think they have to fight you on that. You know what I mean?
Like even treatment, not in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Correct. You force us. And when I say you, I mean government. You're a new politician and you're not in office yet. Right. But if you were in office, I'd already be arguing with you.
Yeah.
Public servant.
You're public servant. As public servants, what I want you guys to do is allow us to put helping things in good areas. Why are halfway houses and sober homes always in the hood?
Correct.
You know what I mean? Force them to stand up and look as healthy and good as they can be, rather than make them look bad and be in bad scenarios. I don't think that we should put them in industrial situations, in industrial areas. I think they should be right next to a CVS. I think they should be right next to a boutique,
and good things,
a salon.
Good things happen. For instance, I'm on the board for the Foundation for Life,
right,
which is a 12-step Christian-based halfway house.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've created 20 men that are productive members of society.
Right.
Some of them are learning a trade, and they've paid back in court fees and fines in the last year. We did the math, almost $250,000 last year.
Wow.
For doing the right thing.
Right on.
And that's where the private sector, because government is not even capable of doing all these things.
Right. Well, the other issue is the problem, like Robbie's talking all this research. If you look at the numbers on research to THC and research to CBD, there's even though CBD oil has 75% of all the benefits of what people are really looking for, it has probably a tenth of the research money.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. And the real reason is because if we had to be really honest, again, let's go back to people really do want to get high. The real money behind this is people wanting to get high. And the real push is to legalize it completely, to make it legal.
What's happening?
And so when the other side says, well, you just want it legalized, I think the other side should go, yeah. That is the push.
I think it's fair because it has gotten so screwed up in Florida that what other choice do patients have at this point? You're talking about the one gentleman over in Tampa, Radner, I think his name is, who has he had cancer, and he wants to juice it, not to get high, because of the medicinal value.
That would probably
of
be
it.
really cool, actually,
My son
juicing
has
it.
a G-tube, and I would love to do that, but I can't because flour is not available. So you're going to see a lot of issues in Florida. As far as, I just want to address, my father lost his life to suicide. He's a veteran, and he was on a whole lot of different VA medications. We took accountability as a family too. And I think we really looked at ourselves at, like, what did we miss here?
Right.
And I think that's important sometimes, Families often like to blame everything's the drug, but so we're not paying attention.
It's the pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the pain. And that's why I think, before we run out of time, we have to address the Sanjay Gupta situation. And the only reason I'm really upset with you, Sanjay, is because it almost seemed like a commercial ad.
It was a commercial ad.
It's like, we know big bad opiates. We know how bad opiates are. We know the negative of opiates. But you didn't mention that one positive of opiates. And I think that's where we're wrong. That's when we lose validity.
Yep.
Because let me tell you something. When you did the measurement, you said opiates relieve pain. Marijuana relieves pain. Only in addition to relieving pain, marijuana is also an anti-inflammatory. And you did that graph.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, Sanjay. If you had to go to surgery right now, and they're going to cut your heart open, chest open, and do open heart surgery, and the doctor looked at you and says, you know what? I no longer do morphine. Here's what I want you to do, Sanjay. Smoke this joint and let's cut your head open. Let's cut your heart open.
Good luck with that.
What are you going to do, Sanjay? Let me tell you something. Because that's the way you made it sound. No. Every chemical and substance that we have has its use and purpose. Every one. Opiates have their purpose and their use in our world. Just physicians need to stop being jerk-offs with it. And we just need to be more educated. But marijuana has its purpose. CBD has its purpose. All these things have its purpose. We just need to get more educated on what the purpose is instead of fighting about it. Yeah. But you can't just say, this is great and gravy, and never mention any of the negatives. You showed a guy working out, smoking a joint while he's working out.
Nobody
you
does
just
that.
You just threw it in the stigma. You just threw away everything you said. Yeah. Who works out smoking anything? Yeah. Why are you smoking? That was you showed a guy that as soon as he started smoking, he put his sunglasses on. Then he smoked. What did you just do right there? You just fed into the stigma. You idiot. You're a friggin' idiot. No. Sanjay Gupta, you had an opportunity to teach the world, here's the positive and negative, here's the positive and negative. But instead, you did a friggin' commercial, and you lied, and you lost all credibility. And you know how many news people are talking about you and saying you lost all credibility.
He didn't even mention Vivitrol.
You used to be a great person.
He didn't mention Vivitrol that entire thing.
And that's another one. You mentioned methadone and Suboxone, and you allowed somebody to go on the air. Now, see, this is why I lose my voice.
There you go.
You allowed someone to go on the air and say that recovery without methadone and Suboxone, it only has a 15% success rate.
Wow.
You allowed someone to say that on the air with what proof and what science? Where did you get that from? How did you allow that individual to give that number out to the world? How did you allow that? And not once did you mention. You said those are the only two things available. You never mentioned Vivitrol, a non-narcotic, a non-addictive medication for opioids and alcohol. Never mentioned it. You never mentioned it. You came out and you did full swing what people do wrong. You compare something that I think has a lot of use and value, but you compared it to all the bombs to make it look good. You got to be honest. You got to say, these are the negatives. These are the negatives. It shouldn't be in children because it's never been studied with children. Should adolescents be doing it? No, because amotivational syndrome is real, and amotivational syndrome can still happen when you use this substance. This is how it interacts with the limbic system. This is how it interacts with the frontal lobe of a human being. This is how the brain cell can come up to 400% of the THC can hold or surround around the brain system in the frontal lobe and therefore slow down some of the processes. Be honest about it, but then say, however, for medicinal purposes, we should get a complete green light. But for all of you fighting for this just to get high, here's why we're having a fight. And that's what you should have talked about. You should have talked about, take a back seat right now. Because, again, you're losing credibility for those people that right now are still waiting in certain states and cities because of that crap. Because of that.
Whenever I got involved in this issue, it was because I'm big on the opioid epidemic, and we need to solve that. And you've discussed help isn't available like it should be. And the supposed medical marijuana people were on me, now I realize there are a lot of those folks that want to just smoke pot, and that's their choice. That's not a Pete Crotty County Commissioner subject, because now even the banks cannot, federal bank, these businesses in states that it's legal, it's a federal issue.
No.
These medical marijuana people need to go out and vote.
Here we go.
They need to go out and vote.
No, here's the deal. It just needs to be legalized so then we can have medical marijuana and regular marijuana.
Yeah.
The medical marijuana needs to be regulated to the point so it actually we can have real doctors give you doses that are good for your ailment. Social marijuana, let it be social marijuana. Medical marijuana is different. Medicinal CBD oil is different. But right now, by having it the way it is, we're allowing every clown out there to sell whatever they sell.
The green wave is coming.
The green wave is here.
Yeah.
I really encourage everybody, if you get a chance to tour a local dispensary, like they're really professionally run. They look very nice. You know, they really do keep it nice. And
Have you been out to LA?
No.
Have you been to Colorado?
That's a little much for me.
Okay, I did. And here's what I was disappointed about. I got to be honest. I was disappointed. The reason I was disappointed is because it was all about the money.
Yeah.
It's all about the money. You know, look, I liked it. It looked kind of like a spa. I liked it. It had a cool look to it. It was very fancy, very nice. Wasn't even really in the hood. I went to a real nice one because I didn't want to get a bad image. I wanted the real image. Remember I went?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was all about security, and it was all about if you paid this $50 to this doctor, see this doctor, then you can go in. But you got to pay the $50.
Okay.
And then I said, well, but what ailment do I have to have? You know, and they were like,
I thought it was
oh,
recreational.
it was, no. I went when it was still just
Okay.
medicinal. I went when it was only medicinal. The legalization hadn't fully gone through. And they wanted $50 and then basically told me, well, anything.
See,
I stubbed my toe earlier.
And so because the industry needs to regulate itself. Like the vape industry making stupid little juice boxes that look like vape. The vape industry making little cute little devices so little kids like it. Well, the marijuana industry making stupid edibles that look like juju beans or gummy bears or anything. Stop being idiots. There's people that really need this as a medication. I know you want to get high. I know you're stuck in Cheech and Chong. I know you're stuck in high times. I get it. That's fine. Jack Herrera still is Jack Herrera, and the Emperor still wears no clothes. I get it. But if we don't take this seriously, people like my dad still can't get it because of you idiots.
Be responsible educators in the community.
That's what you need to be. You need to be a responsible educator in this. And I think there needs to be a separation between recreational use and non-recreational use. And to all the politicians out there that go, well, they just want to smoke it, so that's why we shouldn't pass medicinal marijuana. So what? So what? Who cares? The majority of individuals out there really could care less about that. None of us want it in the hands of children. None of us want it in the hands of adolescents. None of us want this to go overboard. But we're allowing it to do that by being so restrictive. Saying no never has worked, by the way.
Right.
Heroin's illegal, but it's also legal. It's called Percocet. You know what I mean? So all drugs have their legality and all drugs have their value. But I think we need to stop fighting this because we need to get on a fast track. We have an opioid crisis right now. And even though I don't think the marijuana maintenance program works,
we don't know.
Harm reduction is still harm reduction. And harm reduction models have still saved lives. So it may not be the sobriety that I want. It may not be the clean life you want. It may not be recovery that we're all talking about. And it may not even be the answer. Which I don't think it's the answer. I just think for some people, harm reduction is the closest they're ever going to get to recovery and sobriety. So I'm willing to give them whatever they need.
What does harm reduction mean?
Harm reduction is when you're still using some sort of substance.
To hold yourself.
Yeah, you're not dealing with all the true issues of your addiction and recovery. You're just using a less serious substance. Recovery really does. If these people really cared about people in recovery, the people that are saying marijuana is the answer, then they would understand that it's going to be very difficult to still get to the psychological issues and the emotional issues and deal with that. if anything like that is still on the frontal lobe, and anything like that is within the limbic system, it's going to be very difficult to heal properly. However, again, I'm not here to stop you from doing anything that's going to get that needle out of your arm. If something's going to get a needle out of your arm, I'm all for it. But I'm just more for the juicing that you're talking about, pills, that something in a different form. I think when we do it like we do on the street, that's like saying there's a new medication out there, but you have to crush it and sniff it, and I got to do lines. You know why I never did what is that headache medicine? The BC powder? You know why I never liked BC powder?
I know why.
Because it looked like a friggin' gram.
I don't like it either.
Because it reminded me of cocaine. So I never felt right using BC powder.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a Tylenol. You know what I mean? You can't give me a medication that's all powder and make it look like I'm going to sniff it. That's just not the way you do medication.
Don't do that in your car either. That was real bad.
Right. So anyway, I mean, that's all I'm talking about. So let's start closing up, because I think the Tricias of the world need to be heard. And I think the Pete Crotties, the guys that want to be in politics, I think you guys need to hear us. And I appreciate you coming here, Pete, and talking about it. And I appreciate that your honesty.
Right.
I definitely appreciate your openness about your own recovery, because that's important.
Yeah. Been there and done that.
Right. But we need you guys to step this forward as fast as possible, because we don't have the solution. If we had the solution, we wouldn't be in this problem.
Well, people like me involved in the government are going to help thousands of people and family members, because this is epidemic stage.
Right.
And everybody's affected.
Everybody.
A lot more than they realize.
Right. So I thank you for that. So any other platforms that you're standing on that we got to know about?
Right now, I'm just
turn it up as much as get close.
Right now, I'm just going forward with my campaign. I hope that this kind of puts that issue behind us. I'm big on the opioid epidemic. County Commission, we have a balanced budget amendment by the state of Florida that are mandated. Orange County has almost a $4 billion budget, so they can't mess it up. And it is the people's will. When you elect a public servant, you want to elect like-minded people.
Right.
And the whole dynamic of Orange County is at stake, because the majority of the seats are open. So that's why this county election is very important.
Right.
And people with issues like the medical marijuana need to get involved and behind it.
Right.
And go out and pick a candidate of their choice and get behind them and get them elected.
Right.
That's how it is. I mean,
yeah.
For me and you've heard my story.
Right.
17 years ago, when I first got clean, I lost everything. And as Mayor Jacobs mentioned, whenever we saw the graduation at UCF, she'd rather hire a recovering person than what we call an earth person because of their productivity.
Right.
I mean, now, personally, I run a successful business. I've lived my dream. I'm in the highlight of my life. And I want to give it back to the community in public service. That's my intention for offering myself as a candidate. If you're interested in looking at our campaign, our website is givetopete.com. One word.
Thank you, Pete. Tricia, any last words, please?
I would just suggest everyone kind of, especially if you're running for a public office and you're going to be involved with the people, start talking to patients and start getting educated now, because I foresee a lot of problems on, like, we're talking class action lawsuits coming to Florida. We all need to kind of be educating everybody, each other. Okay. And just also, my method is not right for everybody. So don't anyone take my advice and go home and do something with their kid. That was just the dark ages for me.
Thank you so much for having us on and clearing the air.
Thank you very much.
I think we're clear, right?
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Look at
He's
that.
so funny.
Mending fences over here.
That's a program.
Yeah, it is.
Robbie, any last words?
Happy Mother's Day, Mama.
Look at that.
He's such
God
a
bless
cute
her.
My mom's right there, too, so happy Mother's Day.
God bless her. I thought that was your sister.
Nice. Wow.
She's a voter, too, so go for it.
Happy Mother's Day.
In your district. So anyway, yeah. Listen, kids, don't let Snoop Dogg be your face. He's not the face to this. He really isn't. There's a lot of great individuals. There's more Tricias out there than you know that really should be the face of this. But you Snoop Dogs don't put a Trish in front of you and act like that's what you give a damn about, because it's not. And that's okay, though. I'm just here to tell you it's okay. But don't put them in front of you. You can walk alongside them and say, look, I want it for this, but I also want it for her for this. You should be honest and say that. I think that gives your whole movement more credibility. I think honesty is the way to go, because we know that a year after this, we know what we're going to be asking for on the ballot. Yeah. I mean, really?
We'll say a politician that doesn't deny his past issues.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Yeah.
I know a guy like that.
Yeah. It's called Pete Crotty. It's funny. So that's the issue. Look, is marijuana the answer to the opioid crisis? I don't know. I don't think there is one answer to this opioid crisis. But what I do know is that we got a crisis. What I do know is the real problem is pain. What I do know, the real problem is ignorance and stigma. What I do know is the problem is the disease of addiction. And right now it just happens to be opioids. It goes through its stages. It was cocaine, then it was ecstasy, then it was crystal meth, and right now it's opioids, and it's already flipping back to cocaine right now. That's what the statistics and the numbers are showing us. And in some cities, it's back to being cocaine. Addiction, the disease of addiction, is really the true issue. Any form of medication out there that can help people alleviate their issues, whether it be a harm reduction model or whether it be an abstinence model, it's not for us to judge. If someone wants to use a harm reduction model, that's on them. If someone wants to use a full abstinence model, that's on them as well. If they want to use medication-assisted treatment, that's on them. But we can't use medication-assisted treatment with this particular thing until the physicians out there get educated on how to use it as a medication. But you just can't come out of the box and say it's not, and then say this other one is. Come on. Educate yourself. But really educate yourself. And watch where you get your information. A college paper is not research. Somebody's opinion is not research. Someone's anecdotal information is not research. That's why I really appreciate what Tricia said. Anyway, we got to go. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, especially mine. I love you. Adios, amigos. I got to set it up, though. If I don't have it set up, I can't do it, right?
Well, while we're waiting for that one, I'll say that...
what are you going to say?
I think that there's a responsibility on both sides, man. I think the people who are for it, they need to take responsibility and be very, very careful, acting as if it's a magic...
I didn't go to you.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I just think they have to be careful saying it's a magic bullet, because I think it turns people off, because nothing is a magic bullet. So if you can't... You have a responsibility to be, like you said, honest about the pros and the cons.
Right.
And then the people who are against it, they have a responsibility to listen and realize that the old stigma is dying out, and you have to pay attention. So I think there's a responsibility on both sides
100%.
If we're going to get the other side of this thing.
100%. All right, kids. Adios, amigos. It's time. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?